Last week, Harry arrived for a court appearance in the country of his birth, where he leveled a damning accusation against his father in what can only be described as a cruel act of malice. Charles, at the time Prince of Wales, callously and cruelly cut off security for his younger son, all while they were still facing alarming death threats from extremist groups. But perhaps the biggest threat of all was from within the firm itself. Now, when Diana and Charles divorced almost 30 years earlier, Diana relinquished her royal security. It was said that she didn't trust palace security, whom she believed had been leaking information to the family and the press. You may recall, about a year before the car accident that tragically took her life and the life of her companion Dodi Al-Fayyad, Diana wrote this note eerily predicting her own demise down to the cause of death. So Harry's security concerns go much deeper than death threats from a few outside extremist groups. Now, 2 years before Elizabeth's death, Harry described in his book a meeting that took place following his proposal of a 1 foot in, 1 foot out approach to serving the monarchy. He and Meghan had decided, amid the onslaught of negative press and increasing familial acrimony, to leave the country, but to continue to serve in the Commonwealth, something like overseas representatives of the monarch. The Sandringham Agreement, as it came to be known, took place at Sandringham House, Queen Elizabeth's private estate in Norfolk. Now, the Queen was reportedly open to the proposal. However, shortly before the scheduled meeting, Harry was informed by an aide that the Queen would no longer meet with him privately. When he arrived at Sandringham, he found himself facing a united front of William, Charles, and senior courtiers, with the Queen sitting silently as they dismissed the hybrid model. According to Harry, "I got there early, hoping to have a quick chat with Granny. She was sitting on a bench before the fireplace. I sat down beside her. I saw the wasp react with alarm. He went buzzing off and moments later returned with paw. Immediately after him came Willie, who looked at me as if he planned to murder me." He goes on to describe how the options proposed were all for show and that the firm had already decided on the outcome. Harry paints a portrait of an aging monarch whose wishes were being ignored, even manipulated by the men poised to inherit her throne. The agreement began to fall apart almost immediately. In terms of finances, Harry and Meghan had agreed to become financially independent. They would no longer receive funds from the sovereign grant, the taxpayer-funded portion of the royal budget. But at the core of the breakdown was the issue of security, which was never fully resolved. Ravik, which decides on protection for royals and dignitaries, stripped them of police protection, putting Harry and his family at risk, and made it impossible to return to the UK safely. Harry even offered to pay for police protection himself, but was rejected. This led to legal action by Prince Harry against the Home Office. For Harry, the issue of their security was non-negotiable. It reopened a wound of unresolved childhood trauma and parental neglect. It exposed Charles as a cold, heartless father, unconcerned about the welfare of his own son. It also exposed William as one of the primary instigators in this family drama, whose inexhaustible supply of grievances continued to fester into a boil of resentment and incandescent rage. The Sandringham Agreement became the emotional and symbolic fracture of the monarchy itself. For Harry, removing security felt like a trap, a way of forcing them back into the fold or punishing them for leaving. In his own words, it was a strategy to make us crawl back. And for the rest of the family, it highlighted the weakness of the British monarchy, an institution so degraded by the rot of idleness and mediocrity that it appears poised to crumble at any moment. And after Elizabeth's death, the illusion of strength was shattered. Charles has always been a weak, man, easily rattled by jealousy because of his constant need to be the center of attention, a trait inherited by his eldest son. Now, shortly after Harry's dramatic court appearance, he turned up unannounced in Ukraine, where he visited the Superhuman Center, a state-of-the-art facility providing prostheses for maimed war veterans. At the same time, William and Kate were filmed by paparazzi at their their third or fourth vacation this year? This time on the slopes in the French ski resort at Courchevel, with Kate showing off her athletic skills and William seen drunkenly swimming a bottle of what appears to be champagne. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. While Harry was visiting a war zone with maimed veterans with protection paid for at his own expense, William and Kate were pictured living it up at taxpayer expense on yet another vacation. What made it even more infuriating for the palace was that they were not informed, highlighting the tight ship being run by Harry and his security team. Now, if there is one thing Harry learned from his mother's death, it's that nothing must be leaked lest his life be in grave danger. Now, folks, you can just imagine that this must have left William seething. Weeks before, he made this much touted visit to Estonia, where he was seen posed in full battle gear in performance for the cameras. It was reported that where he really wanted to go was Ukraine, but that he was prevented from doing so for fear of his safety. And here is his brother fearlessly living and accomplishing once again what he always wanted: respect and admiration of people inspired by genuine public service. This is something William knows he will never achieve. To make matters worse, it appears in all likelihood that the paparazzi shots were likely staged, maybe to dispel rumors about a divorce. Staged by whom, you might ask? I suspect Mama Middleton. It seems like William was hoodwinked yet again, lured into vacationing with Kate and the kids, with the paparazzi taking staged photographs unbeknownst to him, all because of this report a couple weeks prior. Well, it didn't take long for him to salve his bruised ego by spiriting away George to yet another football match. At the same time, Kate released this pre-recorded video about her new passion project, the outdoors. Here she is seen with the scouts in a video filmed a month before her hitting the slopes. And folks, you can just imagine William's incandescent rage at this trifecta of betrayal, which I suspect is why we got this surprise report shortly afterwards that William and Kate plan to skip the traditional Easter Sunday walk to church. And folks, you know how I know he was duped. Once the pap shots were published, he disappeared, leaving Kate to travel back to Windsor alone with Charlotte and Louis. Soon after, there was this report about their intentions to sue the press for publishing the pictures. But folks, we know this is a hollow threat because William knows exactly who orchestrated these staged photos. That might explain his throwing a tantrum by refusing to show up with Kate to simply be seen walking to church. This, of course, has led to increasing criticism from the public about the future of the monarchy. William, as future monarch, is poised to inherit another linchpin role, head of the Church of England. And here he is, shirking his duties to attend another football match. But folks, you may not know this, but a few years back, William was asked to abdicate his future role due to his refusal to adopt the Church of England. Historically speaking, this is significant. The Church of England, founded by Henry VIII, was created primarily due to his desire to obtain an annulment from his marriage to another Catherine, breaking away from the Roman Catholic Church. The rupture was significant because it signified a breaking away from the Pope as the leading authority, which leads me to my next story. Earlier this month, Charles and Camilla made a papal visit where they stumbled through a chilly reception in Rome, Camilla visibly confused and Charles looking fed up. And folks, it seems a more sinister drama is playing out behind palace doors. According to multiple sources, William and Kate are quietly pushing for the king to abdicate, but not because they're ready to lead, they're just tired of waiting. For months, these random reports have been popping up all over about William and Kate's imminent ascent to the throne. This no doubt reveals a fracture between the two royal houses. It's clear that something's going on. William hasn't been seen with his father in months, and reports about his ailing health has a very worried Camilla jumping in to dispel any rumors about his state of health. No, everything's fine. He's doing more and more. This is, of course, in stark contrast to William and Kate, who seem to be running out the clock. But Charles has found himself between a rock and a hard place. He's alienated the son who was willing to carry out duties, albeit without the abuse and manipulation, and he's stuck with the lazy, drunken son who is committed to a life of leisure. So instead, the public gets the disgraced Prince Andrew showing up yet again for Easter service along with other members of the firm, forever enchained to their dependency on Charles, and soon William, eager to show their allegiance lest they be cut off, but without the star qualities of Harry and the new blood he brings to the monarchy, and William and Kate embroiled in a behind-the-scenes marital war, the monarchy is looking more and more fragile each day. And folks, I just love this for them. This is the same man who spent the entirety of his marriage undermining his wife after misleading her into believing she was entering a marriage for love, only for him to cavort with his mistress right under her nose, essentially admitting that she served only one purpose. In reality, without his title, Charles is just another deadbeat dad. And with all the intrigues and backbiting and undermining, what you get, folks, is a portrait of a monarchy resembling something more of an ancient ruin rather than a modern and evolving institution. And finally, I wanted to talk about this story when it first came out a couple weeks ago. The odd story of Virginia Giuffre, the young woman who accused the Duke of York of coercing her into having relations when she was a teenager. This was, of course, during Andrew's wild days of libertine abandon with the likes of Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway, folks, that's just going to have to be another video because here I am getting carried away again.